Hi, it's Emily at So Happy. Today I'm going to teach you how to lengthen a pair of pants. This is a pair of trousers I bought probably a year or two ago, and they're too short on me. So today I'm going to lengthen them. All you do, this is the bottom of the pants, and you need to seam rip that bottom hem. I already did that because nobody wants to sit there and watch me seam rip this. So you just come to the inside and carefully take away the hem stitches. So I'll just open this up, and this is what it looks like after you have ripped that all open. Ta-da. As you can see, there's a really bad crease right here, and I'm sorry if the light's kind of funky. There's a tree in my window. Maybe I'll trim someday. But there's a really bad crease, and to get rid of that, we would have to steam this so much. I honestly do not think that this would come out no matter how much ironing you do. If you've had them for a long time, or even if they're brand new store-bought, usually this line is not going to come out because of... Hi, honey. Just because of how much they press it when they're made in the factory, or if someone made the pants for you, wherever you got them, that line is just going to be there. So I'm going to show you how to lengthen your pants and hide that crease for a really nice clean finish. So we have this opened up. What we're going to do is use this really nice crease to our advantage. We're going to actually sew the hem on that line. It'll be a really nice line for us to sew, so you can just follow that line with your needle. And what we're going to do, there's two ways we can do this. The fastest way, if you have trousers like mine, that they have this really nice, like 1.5 inch, maybe even 2-inch hem on it, and maybe you only need to add about 1/2 inch, you can just fold, see here's that nice tight bottom crease again, you can just fold it up to that crease a little bit past it, pin that, and then sew it down, and voila, you've got about an extra 1/2 inch on your pants. I need to add more than a 1/2 inch though. So I'm going to lay them out really nice and flat. I have this leftover kind of cream colored cotton. It's a nice sturdy fabric. It's not stretchy, so it's not going to warp this. And I pre-washed it the same way that I wash my pants. That way when I wash these pants, it's not going to warp anything. This fabric's not going to stretch or shrink, so my hem will stay really nice. So find a nice flat edge. I'm going to fold it in half because I need a front and a back. Alright, so here we are. And I'm just going to straighten this out a little bit. And I'm going to lay these pants on top of it. I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch above that seam at the top. And, let's see, I'm going to leave probably about 1 inch on the side as well. And I'm going to open that up here. Oh, I want bigger scissors. If you have perfectly straight leg trousers, you can leave that together if you want. You don't have to cut that open. But mine have just a slight flare out, so I do want to open that. Especially if you're working on bell bottoms, bootlegs, anything that comes out at all. You need to have both sides open. Because what we're going to do, so I just want to make sure this lined up, again about a 1/2 inch on the top, about 1 inch on the side. I'm going to take my rotary cutter, and you can use a ruler if you want, or you can just kind of eyeball it. So this is a little bit of a curve. I'm going to cut this to match that curve. And then I'm going to come down about a 1/2 inch below, maybe a little more. You don't have to be precise because we can trim off the extra, but we want to make sure we have enough. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches extra. Alright, let's sew these. So I have the fabric I cut out, And I sewed a 1/2 inch seam on one side. Okay. You want to try to line that seam up. Sorry, I just ran out the stairs. Oh, rough. You want to try to line this seam up with the seam in your pants. It does not have to be perfect. Just try to get it somewhere close. You can pin it if you want. You don't have to. So this is the narrow part. This is the wider part, because remember I cut them at an angle. Hopefully you can see this. I'm trying to keep everything in the camera's frame. Now we're going to take the wider part and sew it to the wider part of the pant, which is the bottom. If you're doing something like skinny jeans, if it comes in to be smaller at the bottom, you might be sewing it the different way. So again, if the pant is wider on the bottom, we're going to sew the wider part to it. If your pants are skinnier on the bottom, sew the skinnier part to it. Simple as that. Try to keep the seam lined up. We're going to put right sides of the fabric together. That means the part that you actually see. So nice hem, put them together. That means they're on top of each other. So all we see is the yucky part on the outsides. All right. And we're just gonna take this over. I'm gonna kind of pull it tight because these pants have just a slight stretch that while I'm sewing, I don't want to lose any fabric here. I'm gonna put this in my machine. Okay, I lined up the edge of my fabric with the edge of the foot. That way I can just follow this really easy, but also I'm going to pick this up and show you. Hopefully you can see this. Where my needle is, I don't know if you can see this or not. On the edge of the pants, there's this serge line. There's always going to be some sort of finish on the edge of your pants that just keeps the fabric from unraveling. I have all of this to the inside of my needle so that when I finish sewing it and open that up, you're not going to see any of this. So just make sure your needle's far enough over that you cover this up. You can go quite a bit over. I want to be right on top of it because I don't want to lose much of this fabric. I want it to be as long as possible because I want to add quite a bit of length to these pants. Okay, so again, I'm just going to keep these two edges lined up nicely. And I'm going to keep them lined up with the edge of my foot. We're going to stop before we hit the edges of the fabric. Let's see. I want to leave at least 1/2 inch because I need to sew it to this other side. So let's go ahead and do a back stitch. I'm going to cut my thread, and these don't quite match up yet, so I'm going to line that up. I'm going to finish up where I started because I kind of ran out of fabric there at the end, which again is why I really recommend cutting at least an extra inch, 1.5 on each side when you're cutting it to fit your pants, just to make sure you don't run out of fabric. Sometimes things stretch in ways we're not really expecting them to while we sew. Alright, and then keeping the edges of that fabric lined up. So both edges of this are lined up together pretty well. And we're going to sew those sides together now. Just a straight line, easy peasy. So right where this seam ends, right where that thread ends, I'm going to put my needle down. And I'm going to sew a perfectly straight line. So just watch how much is on the excess of your foot. And keep that much on the side of your foot. Easy as that. Straight line. Okay, and this doesn't have to be perfect. This is the inside of your pants. Alright, and I just trimmed off the extra. So, here's what our pants look like now. This is the outside of the pant. We're going to take this. All I'm doing is folding it down. Look how nice of an edge that gives us. and we're gonna fold this all in, but I'm actually gonna iron this. So let me move my sewing machine out of the way a second. I've already got my iron ready to go. I'm gonna tuck all of this inside now. And I'm gonna tuck it, if you can see, I'm tucking it in a little bit past that line. So a little bit of my khaki pants shows on the inside. That way you're never gonna see this lining on the outside. And really slowly, hopefully I'll speed this up in the video if I can figure out how. Really slowly, I'm just gonna iron this really well to on the inside now. So on the outside, these almost look done. And you see how we still have this nasty crease right here? Nobody wants to see that. What we're gonna do, oh, I got a thread here. We're gonna use that as our line to sew this hem on. All of this is tucked in there real nice and straight. You can pin it if you want to keep it nice and straight. I'm not gonna do that, but again, you can. I'm just gonna sew right along this line. Make sure you use thread that matches whatever you're sewing. Oh, sorry, just making sure my video's still running. Make sure you use thread that's matching, and we're just gonna sew right along that line. Let me grab my sewing machine. I'll make sure this is lined up where you can see it, hopefully. And I'm actually gonna turn this in a second so that I can see it better, because this part is gonna be on the outside, and I wanna make sure it looks nice. So I like to try to start near a seam, because on my back stitching, I want it to be kind of inconspicuous. All right, so you can use a regular foot for this if you want. If you don't trust yourself to get right on that line, a foot like this, let's see if we can get a close up, is really nice, because you can make sure, see how it comes to a V right here? You can keep that line right in that point to keep your line really straight. I'll try to put a link to one of these in the description below, but really this probably came with your machine. I'm not going to switch my foot out just for time. And again, I'm sorry, I'm going to move this so that I can see what I'm doing. Hopefully you can still see this pretty good though. And again, I'm sewing right on that crease line. For one thing, sewing on that crease is going to give me a really straight hem. And for another thing, it's actually going to hide this crease without us having to spend a whole day trying to iron it out. Almost done. All right, cut your thread. And ba-bam! You can see it actually flattens out that crease when you're sewing on top of it. So you can kind of see on the edges. See, there's no crease there anymore. Flatten it out, hit it right in there, and I have a perfectly straight hem because I sewed right on that line. On the inside, and the inside's going to look a little goofy. I'm just going to take some pinking shears and cut the ends off. You can serge the ends. You can leave it like that if you want, if you're sick of the project and want to be done. I'm going to trim them off though, just to make it real nice. And actually, I already did the other side, so I'll just show you. Let's see. If I can get this in there good. See? This is what it's all cleaned up. I ironed it all nice again. And voila! I just added, I mean really like 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches to these pants. That's pretty awesome. I hope this was super helpful to you. Again, this is a really beginner project. All we did was sew a couple of straight lines. That's it. Scrap fabric like this you can get really cheap at the fabric store. You can probably find some in like a remnant bin where they usually have it on discount because it's only little bits left. You don't need a lot of fabric. Maybe one of your friends is a big sewer and she can lend you some fabric or something. This is a cheap project, it's a fast project, and again, anyone can do this as long as you know how to sew a perfectly straight line. That's all it takes. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. Feel free to check out my other videos and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.